this channel. We're super excited to have you here, and today we have a very interesting conversation to have. As you can see, we have two beautiful families. My name is Bologi Stephen.
My name is Peter Stephen.
I am Chiagoziem Adindu.
My name is Frank Adindu.
And we are the Adindus and The Stephens, as you can see. So today, our discussion is quite different. But we're going to be sharing our experiences with distant marriage, especially in this Japa season, because we didn't quite Japa, it's a bit more complex than it looks. And we are hoping that everybody has an opportunity to just get some wisdom or tips. And I don't know, if you find yourself in a situation where you and your spouse are not together, we would like to share some of the things we went through to help you make up your mind. Some are good, some are bad. But you hear it all and it's just unscripted, basically. So happy hearing.
So for context, we both went to school in the US, right? We both went to school. She went in August, September
Last year,
that's 2022. I went in January 2023. I went alone. I left my husband and my child. Yes, we'll talk about that. She went with her two sons and herself. So I think basically we're just sharing like what our experiences were like in the period of the distance. So guys, who wants to go first?
The guys.
Let's start from the right and then we'll move to the
Okay, the right have it.
Wow. So for us, when my wife was leaving for school, I had to, escort them to the airport, got on the plane with them because I felt it would have been very stressful for her to travel with two boys, very background boys, and we, got to the US, helped them settle and all, and I had to leave. I think I spent about 3 or 4 weeks at the time. But when I got back, then it hit me. What did you just do?
Hey.
It was, on the one hand, so I'm just going to say, we pride ourselves with saying, when you're married, we preach oneness, husband and wife should be in the same location physically. They must be in the same location physically as much as possible. If someone has to travel for work, it shouldn't be more than a few days, a couple of days, or 1 week. I think I've made a statement such as anyone who says my family is in another country and they are unserious. I've said things like that. I've said that they are unholy. They have
So ulterior motives. They have to repent first.
Yes.
I'm telling you.
And so for me, life was quite hard. It was new. We joke a lot and say at some point we're having like distant relationships. So it's okay. We have done IT, and it looked like it was going to be easy. But the truth is, it was not easy. I miss my wife, I miss my boys, just going to the office, having these arguments with your workers, brainstorming, some sharing your ideas and people not buying into it and coming back home and sharing the ideas with her, and she's excited about the ideas, it just makes you feel, happy, more like a man. Not having all of those, those moments where you can talk together, where you can be vulnerable with each other, when you can share and just talk to yourselves, make decisions together. I was just alone, I was just alone, yes, and then there's a time difference. So I was recovering from jet lag, but then I had to stay consistent with the reality that I was still in the US because I needed to speak to them. So I was almost always feeling, tired, exhausted, work-wise. It was not easy. And so it's something that we don't talk about too often, but I think it's something that, it's worth talking about. That was just, my experience. And a couple of other things which I believe I'll be talking about as we go on.
Wow, I salute you. So it wasn't any different really. So I think I wanted her to just go ahead to pursue what she wanted to do, But maybe we didn't see all of the dynamics and all of the side and all of the shade of what was coming, So we believe we just chest it and move on. But the reality started coming in one day at a time. I had to step up my game because I was with our son. And that means I was going to prepare him, I was going to prepare myself, I was going to want to drop him in school before getting to the office. And then I'm also just thinking, can I dash in during lunchtime to go and see this boy, come back to the office, and all of those kinds of things. So it was a whole lot to manage all of that dynamic. And we didn't quite see that. We just felt somehow things will work out, but it didn't really work out indeed, It was a lot of stress. And like Frank said, time difference was immediate. I think for you it was, is it 7 hours?
So at some point it was 8.
Okay, even 8
and
hours.
then at some point it moved to 9. I think we just want to kill me. Just kill
Imagine
me.
8-9 hours. I think
why are we moving up and down?
ours was 6
Ours
and
was
then
6,
5,
then
right?
you moved to 5.
Oh.
How come your own increased?
To 9.
Wow. Wow. So first of all, I was trying to manage and put in my head, this is the time that she's awake, this is the time, So I think the first few weeks, I was going to bed maybe at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. when they're talking, and all of that, because we get to catch up, And then it means I have to still wake up very early in the morning because we needed to still talk in the morning before we leave. So it was a whole lot of stress trying to adjust to that new reality.
Absolutely.
And then I think maybe one of the very great things that worked for us that Ethan started sleeping throughout the night.
Yeah,
the very
that
first
very
day she
day,
left.
I felt the
That was
type
the
of
very
way
first
that
time
night.
he started sleeping throughout the night. So that was a big plus for me.
That's the
really.
question.
I didn't know how I felt when they told me.
Yeah.
It was a miracle for me. I think God just looked at you and said, if we allow this boy to go this way, we'll be done. But that was maybe that was a big plus. I don't know, getting to see my wife was not there. Something was missing. Essentially. I think it wasn't just the physical person that was missing, but the essence of the person was missing as well. The tangibility, like Frank said, the friendship was not there, the bond was not as much as it was there because you are just trying to actually meet up with something. Because that was not our reality, that was not the truth. In which, and for us, that was the first time we were going to be apart.
Not do I
We have
see.
never,
Not do I see. Not like you people. We don't have any
apart.
experience.
I think the highest maybe is one night we've
Like
been
maybe
apart.
weekend, like men's only weekend.
Exactly.
That's actually like the highest. Never
had. So that was going to be first. And then it was going to be worse for her because for her it has never happened at all. She has always been close to family, aside school. At least for me, work took me away from family a bit. For her, it was going to be all first. So it was a whole lot on both sides. So it wasn't a sweet experience. Yeah.
My
So,
goodness.
my husband is saying that I've never been. Actually, the first time in my whole life I slept alone was my first night in the US.
Wow.
So like even remember when your first year of marriage when Frank traveled, that was me. So my husband, so anytime I've never been in my parents' house like alone, there's always somebody. Then school, you always have a roommate.
Yeah.
Then when we got married, there's always, if my husband is traveling for a weekend, a friend is coming up. So the first time in my entire life that I was going to sleep because I didn't have a roommate was in a different country, a state I didn't know anybody, a country that was foreign, everything alone.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think for me it was just a lot of things because it wasn't a city that I knew people. So I had to start afresh with that, and then your family is not there. And I keep saying like, so I remember somebody saying, it's just like you're single, and I'm like, no, That's the worst thing.
You're not unmarried.
Because you can't marry. Even you're married,
You
you can't. So even when you go for like orientation, like you can see like, oh, I think once like, why did you come and do this matter when you're not married? You know, that consciousness, and for good actually, because you don't also want to start doing things that you know your husband is wondering what's going on, and it starts to affect the trust as well. So you have that consciousness of the fact that you are a wife and a mom, but there's no tangibility of the fact that you are a wife and a mom. You know, and you know he has to stay up late. My husband is not a night person. I have to wake up very early, so I became their alarm clock because when they are dropping Ethan at school, and I'm not a morning person. So it was just affecting that, and there was just a lot of loneliness for me. And you know, it sounds funny that Ethan slept all through the night. And I guess for me it was different things. It was like I felt like one was God's mercy of saying, it's not you that will take care of the child. But then it also felt like,
you're dispensable last.
Was I the one that was holding your seat? And then you now also add the fact of, I mean, we know our culture. Where do you hear that the woman travels abroad? For context, my son was not yet 2. Ethan was about 1 year, 7-8 months. Wow. So there were these subtle jabs of you left your child, even some that were well-meaning. So I think when we realized that we were not going together, there was this will happen, get ready for it. But nothing really prepares you when those jabs come, even when they are from friends that mean no harm. I started to ask myself questions like, are you overambitious? You know, questions that we know that will never be asked of the man if he went to school alone. You know, are you overambitious? Are you placing your future or your career or whatever above your family? You know, so it was dealing with loneliness, dealing with long distance marriage, being away from my child. As a mother, you feel like nobody can take care of your child like you. So it also had to mean me not micromanaging my husband and saying, hey, have you worn him diaper? You know, and then still dealing with that struggle in my head of, are you being over ambitious and then still facing school? So
did we forget the reason why we went to US?
I'm still like going to school, doing assignments and all of that. So for me, it was just a roller coaster of a lot of emotions.
Okay, so I think for me, I need to give you guys context so you understand why my life was very much different from all of these stories. I think for me, the greater part of the first few months did not allow me feel anything. I couldn't feel. I couldn't miss him. I couldn't think. I couldn't feel. And I think that was what dominated the first 3-4 months of my stay in the US. And that's basically for context. My first visa application was denied. The second was approved, but school had started, so I traveled late. So I'm going to a new country, and that's one part of the US where I have nobody. No, let me put into some more context. The black population there, the possibility of my knowing somebody is 2%. As in, you're walking on the street, and for a long time you can't see someone like me. So I could not know anybody inside there, basically. And so we're going. It's a long story, but we don't even have a place we're staying. Remember, we're with husband, wife, 2 children. We have no place to go. We didn't even make plans for accommodation because of how hastily we left. So I didn't have time to process anything. I got into the US on Friday. God being faithful, a Nigerian family adopted us and hosted us basically and gave us a place to stay. By Monday, I had to go to school, and for every break I had to go look for apartments, look for school for my children, come back to class, go and do lunch. Wow. Yeah. We were basically trying to borrow cars to move around town. We did not know, remember? So I honestly didn't have the time and the luxury to process anything. I just needed to survive. It was like, I'm here.
You needed to settle in.
Yes, I can't go back. I'm already here. This is it. This is like real life, so survive. And so it was a lot for me. It was the forgetfulness to take care of myself. It was the forgetfulness to eat. It was always me having to think of my children, think of accommodation, trying to project to see how long can we manage this, stay where we're in someone's house, a whole family in someone's house. So I'm processing all of these things. So I didn't really have time to cross-check my mental health. And sometimes I feel like, in a way, sometimes these mental health issues, people that have luxury to consider their mental health, that know that they have mental health issues.
Yeah,
Because there is actually an extreme where you get to and you cannot even remember that we have headache. And this will characterize a lot of my waking up and sleeping days in the US. For instance, there were times I was ill and I couldn't cater to myself. I was so ill that I did not feel the pain of the illness until someone asked me one day. The person was like, "You're coughing so badly, you don't look good." And that's when I began to feel feverish. Wow. And I began to understand that you're looking after these boys because they were ill, but you're sick yourself. And it was immediately that consciousness came, I broke down. So I had those days where, and of course there was school, and because I didn't get a daycare or a school arrangement for my children, at least I had to carry my son to school. Just pick him, and we attended classes together. Thankfully, my professors were understanding. I had to meet them and say, "Hey, I don't have childcare arrangements yet. My first son has to come to class with me. I hope that's okay." You could see them looking at me like, "Are you crazy?" At first, it was almost like, "You have kids?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like S or D, I'm like, "DS." Like, kids. And so, at the time, Jaden was 4, Jedediah was 1+. And they'll tell me, "You're crazy. For real. Wow. Why are you combining?" Well, it's not like we had an alternative, So, there was all of that. So I don't know if I say I didn't feel alone, I didn't feel lonely, I didn't feel any of those things. It was just survival instinct. It was adrenaline until adrenaline faded. There are some good parts, but I'll stop here because
So it's just interesting how we have one person, 2 people, like one father with the kid, one father without the kid, one mother with the kid, and like all the experiences are just so different. Because for me, honestly, there were a few times where it's like, "Oh, okay, please don't judge me." It's almost like, okay, I have my time to myself.
Absolutely.
But then you even feel there's an almost guilt you feel for feeling like
that
you are happy, you are not with your husband and child. Then you're not trying to feel that time being a mother. And your phone, and then they are blowing up your phone like, if my son should breathe, whoever is taking care of him. Because my family back home, especially my mom, was feeling the need to not just be a grandmother, but to be a mother. So every second they are calling and you're still having to face like schoolwork, and then it was just, so sometimes you're just feeling guilty that you feel like you have time, that you're trying to cover the guilt by doing, extra things that are not necessarily from your heart, but out of some kind of obligation. And then there's my husband being the African man with the child. How was that going to church?
Which is not.
There was one of the things I think I already created in my mind was that anybody that was going to ask me a question was going to get it from me. I didn't have time to massage anybody's questions because there was already a lot we were dealing with, and you were not going to be a part of it. You were not going to give me some help or anything. And which is what is also a problem with our African culture. I don't know if it happens elsewhere. People are ready to send judgment to you without understanding your situation, without even sending help, without even trying to find out what is going on. They are ready to make the conclusion, put the verdict and send you to jail. So I was ready for that already. So my mind was already set. So I was willing and joyfully taking it and anywhere I was going to. We're going to church, we get set, we go with him, we laugh, we go. So I don't know that I was sending the vibe of don't come near me. So I'm not sure if people really asked me that, maybe 1 or 2, and a few people kept asking, "Where's mom?" I just said, "Nah, mom is not around. She didn't come today. You know, so that was the answer I was giving people, you know. But it was stressful really because now not too bad stressful, but it was stressful because Ethan was just he was a toddler and he needed a lot of attention, you know. So Ethan was going to be asking me for A, B, and C, and sometimes I didn't have that time. I wanted to just either rest because office was already stressful, you know, and probably I didn't sleep on time the following day, and I would still have to go to work, you know. And I'm also just thinking, what will Ethan eat tomorrow when we go to school? That I now understood what runs through my wife's head when she's thinking about what will this guy eat tomorrow. Madam, can we wait for tomorrow to reach? You know, because I saw lapses when I didn't do that. The help in the house was not going to provide what I wanted my son to have as much as I wanted it. So sometimes you give instructions and then sometimes I get to school and I'm like, how do you guys think you should do this? You know, there were already some lapses here and there, you know, so I had to step in there. At times I just have to say, everything goes. Ethan will be fine. Ethan will be fine. So that was just it, you know. I remember, I don't know that I should bring in this story. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let me just bring this. So I had to, my brother married, what month? I think May, right? Okay, ending April. I had to travel with Ethan for the wedding in Kaduna, and it was just me and him, and I knew the whole world was going to come to me to ask me a million questions, and I kept getting it.
Some already know the answer.
Well, let's just be a record that they asked.
Where is she? You know, oh, she's not, and you know how gist flies. They already know. They just want to hear.
Because I was putting pictures of, sorry babe to cut you, because part of what I had to decide, I do a lot of like online stuff. So I had to ask myself, okay, are you going to hide? Do you understand? Are you going to not post at all? Then people don't assume you're pregnant. What are you, or are you going to be, or are you going to be posting all your own
pictures? I'm telling you.
And I was like, I'm not going to do that. So on Facebook, when I put my videos and all of that, I always used to tag him. So it would show on his timeline. So everybody that knows him will see it. And if you see lights, you know that his lights is So just for that context, some people actually knew it wasn't a secret.
Yeah, it wasn't a secret, but they'll still come to us because of the culture of, oh, the woman is not supposed to lead the child, you know. And I kept asking, you know, where is it written that it is the woman that should only be with the child, and the man cannot also help while she will pursue certain things? Because when she may be ready to pursue what she wants to pursue, she may not even have that passion anymore, or she may be disinterested in pursuing it at that point. She wants to pursue it in her mind, but at that point, maybe something else has come up, you know, or certain distractions have come up, or certain responsibilities have come up. I thank God for my siblings. They were just super because they already knew they were there to just help and all of that, you know. So, but you know, family, relatives, everyone was asking, it was a lot sometimes. I'm like, yeah. But in all, I think it was an amazing experience to appreciate marriage properly, to appreciate my spouse better. Sometimes perspectives are needed. Sometimes you need to detach yourself from the usual so that you can see the thing you are inside from a different perspective and appreciate the effort. You know, so I appreciated marriage better, I appreciated my spouse better, I even appreciate myself better. You know, I appreciate myself better. I think I love my son a lot more. Maybe I had the opportunity to love him. Because while his mom was around, I couldn't love him as much as, if you allow me to say that, yes, I had space to love him.
You were taking their sleep, you were taking their space.
You know, and I think one decision I made was that because my wife was not around, I'm not going to dump him elsewhere. I'm going to be present in his life. So I was willing to go that extra mile. You know, I remember one of our friends went to visit in the hospital. So I went to visit them. They knew about my wedding and they kept paying me, that's why we've not seen this. You know, I felt happy that I was actually doing that, you know.
Changing the norm.
Exactly, you know. We can allow our wives to pursue things and support, you know, if that is the agreement or that is the arrangement.
Exactly, that's what works best.
Exactly. And honestly, family members must allow couples to decide what they want to do. It's their decision, it's their mood. You know, we can provide advice, and we'll celebrate our mentors. Our mentors kept asking questions, but they never insisted on anything. So that we also see all of the possibilities, but they never said, no, you can't do it. Oh, you should go. No, they allowed us to have this, and they supported us throughout our decision.
When you were speaking,
so that was really more.
No, that's fine. When you were speaking about supporting your wife, because timing, when she's not ready, I think what crossed my mind was timing. Can we talk a little bit about timing? Because the question is, why am I going to school with 2 children? And there's something else you said. You said, why did I go to school when I was 23? And I felt like that a lot. By the way, I got this admission in 2016. Long story. My story is like this. I got in 2016, and the idea was for us to go to school immediately after we got married. We didn't want to have kids for a while until we finished at least our masters. It didn't work out. Done. But the question is, for someone out there who is wondering, how can I do this now? I think for me, the answer will be, in the day of the Lord, the people will be willing. First of all, how did I know it was time? I remembered in 2021, I did like a survey, I did a personal survey, and asked people to help me get better, basically. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right, in your opinion? And by the time I did the survey, a lot of people just said, where you are with your career, your social work, and all of that, you need advanced knowledge. And the more I got it, the more it sat right with my spirit. By the way, why did you go to school all these years? Because I don't have money. Like, my school gave me 50%, but I still could not even afford to give me 50%. But that year I was ready. I remember calling my husband and I said, I'm ready to go to school. This is the man whose idea it was for us to go to school, and I would not be dragging like an appendage, And that year, I just told him, I said, I'm ready. And the way I felt then, I was going to kick anybody on the way, just bulldoze you and continue. I was ready, and I got the other scholarship. That's like story for another day. It was just time. And I remember when I was going, I kept asking myself, why now? How will I cope with 2 children? And I know that's probably what someone is thinking. How will you cope? You'll cope. You would watch my other videos where I'll go into details about my own personal journey, but you will cope. And frankly, when I was dealing while I was dealing with this whole how will I cope, there was a lot of assistance I got just being with my 2 children. A lot of grace, a lot of goodwill. So I don't want someone out there I don't want you to sleep on your dreams and the calling of God on your life because you are trying to figure out a perfect time to jump in. When the water is stirred and your heart is convicted, jump in with your full chest. As in, jump in and just take 1 step at a time. I think something that I've seen resonate with all our stories is that we felt we knew, but life just did us bus. But apparently a lot of things were unpredictable. But how did we ride the wave? We took it 1 step at a time.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like God is leading you in that direction, please, 1 step at a time.
I just wanted to say this, that growing up, my dad, traveled a lot, and he used to just do something to me. I didn't feel good about it. I wanted to be a father that was present. Now, that mixed with my teenage years, all I wanted to do was to relocate to America. I just wanted, there were certain competitions, certain conferences that I wasn't supposed to be a part of, but I just somehow found myself, attached to those people and those organizations because I just wanted to be in America. I just wanted, America, because of Hollywood and all that. Yeah. So right now, it's like I had the, opportunity. There's justification. Your wife is there. Why are you not going there and all that? And then I just sit back and I look at the people who make these comments and I just smile. Some of them out of genuine concern. Some people. One of the things my friends used to do. They just used to look at me with pity, and just be like, "How are you coping with the forex?" I was, dancing makosa.
It wasn't now.
Yes, it was a major financial, weight. I don't want to say burden. I cannot say it was a burden, but it was a major financial weight because, you know, having to, you know, be present, having to visit, get tickets, you know, you take some time off work, you go and do all of that stuff. It was not easy. But like my wife said, when it's time, you would know that it's time.
Yeah.
So making the move, deciding to, you know, go for a master's or relocating or whatever, when it's time you would know, because a lot of things will just be, you know, become clearer. Many you get help somehow.
Yeah.
But the main thing is sometimes I think we don't put the entire picture. We don't talk about certain things. We spiritualize certain things. We confess positively, which is not wrong. Don't get me wrong. But then sometimes we need to ask ourselves some questions. Yeah. So what if this doesn't go this way? What's the plan? You know, not that you're trying to play God, but you just have those conversations, because I felt like, you know, there were many things that if we had talked about, it would have been a lot easier for us to, you know, navigate those times. So that would just be my advice.
Okay, so I think like kind of bringing it up together, like I think I'll just say our experiences were different. Obviously, we have different experiences, and I think it all comes down to like what do you and your family agree on. So it was never a case of one person insisting I must go and pursue my dreams.
Absolutely.
Damn you and the children. You know.
Absolutely.
So no matter how difficult it was, that agreement helped us because nobody felt like somebody was placing abroad or school or anything above the child or the family or the marriage. Exactly. So I think it's important that if you ever have to do distance, you must be in agreement about it. And I think the second thing is Frank mentioned that he went with them and he visited, you guys mentioned, he visited a few times. In our own case, there was no visitation because my husband didn't have a visa. Wow. Which is why after first semester, I carried my load and luggage. I came back to Nigeria. And everybody's like, people are looking at me like, you must have a lot of money. They don't have return tickets. But because it wasn't that easy for them to come and visit, we now also had to, what am I trying to say? Don't elongate it beyond what you can.
Absolutely.
I don't know what you can handle. Exactly. If there's any if there is, we're not glorifying. I think I like where Frank started to say, you know, that I think we all have preached against it. So I think God first wanted to humble us that you don't know what life will bring your way. I don't think we all wanted. This was not what we would have preferred, but it was what made
funny. So them got you. I was so sure at my first interview I was going to get my. Is this first or second interview?
The first one.
No, the second interview. I was so sure I was coming back with my visa. Nothing was going to stop me.
We had booked. Do you understand? Like 2 months before, we had booked a ticket for all of us.
So
we were so sure.
In part 2, we're going to talk about the spiritual angles to these things, because really, we can't balance this thing without spiritual angles.
Yeah, for sure.
So just go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, nobody chose it, but when we sat down and looked at it with the leading of God and the wisdom that He has given us, it was what made sense at the time to do. So be in agreement about it, number one. And then number 2, try and create an end. Let there be a workable plan towards the end or towards regular, meeting. So like Chichi said, in the next video we'll talk about the spiritual angle, and then we will specifically talk about, we're talking about our experiences. But now we'll talk about how it affected our marriage and our family. If there was if there was, just basically the effect of it in our marriage and our family life. Alright, so see you guys in the next video.
We hope you guys enjoyed the conversation.
Yes, like, subscribe, and share with something.
Leave a comment in the comment section. We'd like to also hear what your experience is, or the experience of that your cousin's sister's daughter. Just share, help us.
And of your relatives.
Perspective.
How are they coming at you?
I know. Let's know if you can relate to what we are saying.
And friends.
Love you guys.
Bye.